welcome back here with Money, 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 and this week we're in conversation with Mr. A Balasubramanian of Birla Sun Life Asset Management Company. So you've explained the basics of fixed income to us, and now it's time to talk equity. And equity is something that people really generally understand. So I'll straight away get down to the question. Let's say, again, same situation, that there is a slightly aggressive investor right now who's looking at the market, off its peak, and is thinking of investing. First of all, would you say put in all your eggs right now in the equity basket, or again is systematic the way to go?
I think the better way to build portfolio in equity is through the systematic investment plan. Having said that, the people who have got a lump sum amount, instead of just rushing in and invest actually all the money in one go, they can also invest in actually weekly. They can come into my liquid fund and invest actually through the systematic transfer plan. The SIP is equal to the systematic transfer plan.
So they enter into a liquid fund and then it gets transferred to the equity fund.
Correct. And that's where I think you can actually build the equity portfolio. And that's I think the best way to invest. I just asked many number of years, and who are actually trying to time the market, as I mentioned earlier. Timing actually has never been a successful model for anybody for the matter.
So let's get some ideas, fund ideas. And now, of course, I was looking at some of the Birla Sun Life funds, and a lot of the frontline equity, the top 100, I mean, these are top-rated funds if you look at any sort of analyst recommendations as well. And I also realized that there are lots of niche funds as well, sort of thematic funds. There's the Banking and Financial Services Fund, and some really old funds. For instance, the India Opportunities Fund, running for more than 20 years now, the Special Situations Fund, etc. So now let's start from the basics. If someone has a low risk bent of mind, is predominantly looking at a safer fund, what would you advise him? And again, someone who's looking to go a little aggressive right now, willing to take that long-term equity call, then do these thematic or special situations funds, do they make sense?
Somebody has come actually for longer term, and they should probably choose the mid-cap fund. I think predominantly India being one of the high growth market, and large pool of companies in the mid and small size space do provide a bigger opportunity for investing. Therefore, mid and small cap space also comes actually in the category. Having said that, thematic funds have to be broken into two parts. One is a thematic fund which focus only on consumption. India is predominantly a consumption-driven country, and therefore it actually consumption-led theme. Wherever there is an opportunity, one can choose within that.
So is that what, let's say, the
Banking
Banking and Financial Services, and I'm talking about the India Gen Next Fund, which also was based on a certain theme. And just for viewers' reference, some broad performances, year to date 9%, 1 year 16%, and 3 years longer term investment, we're talking returns of over 20% for this particular fund.
So basically, funds like Banking and Financial Services Fund, which predominantly actually focus on both on investments, growth, as well as investment-led growth, as well as the consumption-led growth. Second is the Gen X Fund, which predominantly invests only in companies who are benefiting out of the consumption boom in India. Basically, the consumer behaviors largely reflects on Gen X Fund. And the multinational companies, where we also make an investment, which is the MNC Fund, which predominantly invests only in companies which are multinational companies who have presence in India, in the listed space. So therefore, from the customer's point of view, first they should expose themselves to ranging from large cap fund, in the cover case fund and equity, to a multi-cap fund like Birla Fund or Birla Sun Life Equity, then move on to actually a balance fund, which is the balance 95. Then start looking actually investing in
thematic
fund.
So let me come back to the return expectations question. So the frontline part, it's pretty clear, Sensex plus 3-4% or minus depending on market conditions. When you're coming down to a mid-cap fund, then what is the realistic return expectation?
So generally in equity, I think the longer term principle on the basis of the trend analysis, the expectation in equity should always revolve around the GDP plus the inflation, which is nominal GDP, plus the risk premium about 4 to 5%. I think if the GDP, you say nominal GDP is say 7% plus say 4% for inflation, 11%, plus 4 or 5% the equity premium if you add up, the long-term expectation of return should be anywhere between 14 to 15% or 15 to 16%. And I mean longer term, this longer term has to be looked at beyond say 5 years. If somebody expects this return actually 1 year or 2 year period, probably they may feel disappointed. So they have to consider this fact that longer term means in equity has to be more than 5 years times.
Now finally on equity funds, I get your point about the risks involved with a thematic fund, but then it's risk and reward if you pick the right fund. What is your favorite looking at the current economic and market environment? If you were to pick a good thematic fund for me or for yourself?
Of course, recently I increased allocations towards Banking and Financial Services Fund. And for one simple reason actually, that one segment represents the whole the country. which I generally call it as a proxy to the economy, is actually the banking financial sectors. And that's, I think, one of my favorite as well.
That's one of your favorites then. Okay, so we've got some fund advice in as well. Now on to digital payments, because that's the way things are going, and one is hearing of more and more changes happening. How is that impacting the way funds are getting sold, and what are the changes that you expect?
See, first and foremost, we as a funders have been now thinking in line with what Government of India is thinking, that educate the large pool of investors and the consumers about usage of digital platform for their own investment habit. First, we have to educate. We have to increase awareness about using various types of app that is available in the market. Having said that, we at Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund thought about introducing an app called Active Account app, which is nothing but giving you a platform for you to move your money that is lying in your bank account in a single swipe actually to a liquid fund. And from the liquid fund, whenever you need it, actually you can single swipe, you can take it back to your in your bank account. We also introduced a provision in this app to get large pool of customers who are not currently banking with the mutual fund to deal with the mutual fund through this app. So that's another area which you have now done. I think the first and foremost is that Birla Sun Life Mutual is doing, educate the large pool of customers even as part of your service to the nation of using the digital platform for dealing in financial market, including mutual fund products.
Now for the unexpected part of this, I have a rapid fire, small little rapid fire round for you, and of course, we haven't told Mr. Balasubramanian at all about the questions that are coming. You have to, whatever first thought that comes to you, simply shoot it out.
Yeah.
How much cash are you carrying on person right now?
Very negligible.
How many times have you withdrawn money, cash, since the 8th of November?
Only once.
How was that experience, and through what channel did you manage to withdraw?
Through by writing a check for withdrawal of a check, and only one day I got it, and the same day I got it.
Did you stand in a queue?
Luckily, of course, somebody else put it on my behalf.
Okay. How many payment apps are there on your phone?
Including Ola, including Uber, including Mobivic and Paytm, 4 rather.
And what about banking payment apps? Do you use any banking payment apps?
The bank in which I am dealing through the last almost 1 year, I myself have been graduating to move into the digital platform, and I have been using app actually, and as well as online internet platform actually dealing in banking systems.
Okay. What's the smallest digital payment transaction that you've made?
500 rupees.
500. Oh, that's fantastic. We must ask, in what context, to whom, what sort of a transaction was this?
No, I just trying to actually test. Can I actually transfer money of 500 rupees, money from my mobile to actually another mobile?
That's fantastic.
Then I said, let me do the 500 rupees and transfer and see. And I got a.
See, sir, that's the difference. I also tried. I did a token UPI transaction, but it was 1 rupee, and then another transaction with a different guest, that was 100 rupees. But of course, you've done a 500 rupee token transaction. That's great. E-wallets versus a real wallet. What's the choice?
So I have chosen a real wallet. In my case, the Active Account app that we have Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund introduced. Either that's the real wallet, I can move money actually from a bank account to the liquid fund, and that I am using it very actively.
And finally, wallets versus UPI versus net banking. Your choice.
I think UPI. I think UPI will become actually the big thing. I think the way UPI is building up and the way I think they are giving ease of transactions as part of the facility, and that's going to be the game changer.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for taking out the time.
My pleasure too.
Well, that's it on this week's edition of Money, Money, Money. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you again next week.